This video is all about the Eduardo Ferrer Flamenca Negra, and it was made in 1978. This is Everything Guitar. These guitars were made in Granada, and Eduardo was responsible for the development of the Yamaha range of Spanish guitars from 1966 onwards. Eduardo Ferrer was born in 1905 and died in 1988, and he took over his uncle Benito Ferrer's Granada shop in 1925. So this guitar making tradition goes back a long way in this family. Luthiers who worked in the Ferrer workshop during the 1970s included Antonio Marín and Manuel Fernandez. So there's plenty of history in the instrument. Now, regarding the specifications, it's got a cedar sound top, very distinctive looking sound top. The sound is very interesting. It's got a very heavy mid-range to it and a big boomy bass side, which is helped by the Brazilian rosewood back and sides. It's got a cedar neck and an ebony fingerboard. You can probably see from the images that the fingerboard and the guitar in general's had a lot of life to it. You know, it's obviously been through a lot. The scale length is 66.5 centimeters. So it's a lovely looking instrument. These old guitars definitely have a lot of character. I mean, whether you can tell that by just the shading on the sound top, whereas, you know, on a new guitar, it'll be perfectly finished and all one colour. You know, these older guitars have had a lot of stories to tell, and they've been through a lot. So you can see from the discoloration on the top that the guitar's been through a lot. You can see the age and the character behind it, really. And you can see by the bridge area, you know, the little bits of wear underneath the bridge and around adjoining the sound top. And when you look at the sides of the instrument, you can see the beautiful Brazilian rosewood design. You know, it's an absolutely, you know, any guitar that's got Brazilian rosewood is, you know, absolute beauty, and this one has got a lovely grain to it, very distinctive. And it's a big old fretboard. And I was told that it's about 1.5 millimeters wider than the standard now. So if you imagine, if you think a classical guitar is wide enough as it is on the standard width, this one is an extra 1.5 millimeters, which in an ideal world you'd have another nut made and narrow that a little bit. And you can see closely that grain of that Brazilian rosewood. You know, it's absolutely beautiful, and obviously an endangered species, and worth it ultimately for the sound that it creates. Very, very warm. Brazilian rosewood creates a warm throw to the sound. It chucks the sound out and gives it a great woof of bass end. Personally, I love that binding that you see on the back, the lines that go down the instrument, the side of the instrument. I think it looks really nice guitar, really nicely finished. Now the Brazilian rosewood's got a little bit of a stripe at the sides on the back, and I think that's a really distinctive feature. You don't get many with a beautiful stripe like that. And of course, book-ended matching stripe on it. So really a lovely looking guitar. You can see a few swirls in the back on the Brazilian rosewood. And normally you'd think these were weak spots, but they've held up over the years. See from the back of the neck, the cedar, you can see a few little donks and things like that, small markings where it's had a little bit of abuse. But you'd expect markings, since 1978. It's a long time ago. A beautifully carved headstock there. Very distinctive shaping at the top. Even the sticker, you can see the age on the sticker of the instrument. People like old instruments, where it's been, you can see the aging and the rest of it. And the lovely signature. You can see the love and the passion that have gone into making the instrument. Quite a long split along the ebony fretboard that's had a repair to it. A lot of classical guitar producers try to find a nice mid-range characteristic in a guitar and, artificially exaggerate it. And with this guitar, you don't need that because it's got its own mid-range character to it. It's so potent, and you can hear that it's got a really deep sound. And that's partly due to that Brazilian rosewood, but also the big body, the design. Many years of improvements and tweaking has gone into this type of instrument. That means you've got a guitar with a lot of breeding. There really is a family sound. I wouldn't say the instrument's the easiest one to play in the world. I think mainly because that slightly wider neck, and I don't have the biggest hands in the world, so I find it a little bit trickier than most classical guitars to play. good tip for anybody who has a cedar guitar and it's sounding slightly dull is to put carbon strings on the treble. You'll find that the brightness of the carbon strings will lift that sound up and help with the sustain and help with that brightness, because cedar can be a bit dark and a bit warm, especially the older they get. And of course you're listening now to a very old guitar. It's strange when you play an old instrument. It's as if you're adding an extra dimension to the playing from the tradition of the instrument. It's very hard to describe, but that breeding and that character is very difficult to get in a modern instrument. Sometimes it has to be a very, very special instrument in order for you to be able to find that extra element in the sound, and this Ferrer guitar certainly has it. And of course, as a player, if you're aware of those bass type sounds, you can adjust your playing a little bit and bring those tones out and make those bass notes sustain. And again, when you're playing with the treble notes, you can again adjust your technique and the angle of the fingers and the way you're using your nails and bring elements of the sound out. And we all compensate in some way or another, and it's interesting to have an instrument like this because it really does draw another element out of your playing. So I don't know how many of these there are in existence, but there are obviously a fair few, but they're not that common to see them up for sale. I would always say buyer beware, look for cracks and look for problems if you're thinking of buying an old instrument like this. Definitely keep your eye out for repairs and, especially hidden repairs. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look into Eduardo Ferrer's Flamenca Negra Guitar. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Now, as I'm going up, down, up, you'll notice the direction of travel moves towards the next point. As I'm